Nurofen
plus
codeine
equals
dual action.
relief.
Follow the fortunes of a pioneering woman pushing back the boundaries of the American frontier. Drama for this evening with Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman on Meridian.
I prefer the Mediterranean style of cooking. It's fun cooking for a chef's point of view. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but when it does work, it's good fun. There's more happening down here. There's more things to do. I like the South.
Good evening. A woman from Surrey is demanding detectives reopen an investigation into the death of her husband. Relatives of Melvin Parker believe he was murdered and did not commit suicide, which was the finding of an inquest. The 41-year-old was found off Brighton Marina 2 years ago. His body was weighed down with bricks. His widow, Patricia, who comes from Guildford, says she's uncovered new evidence. She believes he was pushed from a boat. Brighton police say they will study the new information. It's being claimed that fares on some of the region's rail routes could double after privatisation. South West Trains and Great Western are among the first rail companies up for sale. Today's Independent on Sunday claims new rules could prevent thousands of passengers from stopping off during their journey unless they pay for extra tickets. One of the companies, Great Western, said today it was unable to comment on privatisation matters. A high-tech defence weapon now being used in Bosnia has been developed by a Hampshire research company. The scientists were asked to create a device capable of locating Serbian heavy weapons. Michael Vesti reports.
It looks like a soldier's helmet in the undergrowth, but in fact it's a powerful secret microphone identifying the source of enemy fire. These devices, scattered near battlefields, can pinpoint where the firing is coming from. Called Halo, it's a unique British invention developed at Roke Manor Research at Romsey in Hampshire. The Ministry of Defence asked the company to find a way of quickly locating where Serbian artillery was hidden in the Bosnian mountains. By using Halo, UN peacekeeping forces were able to establish that the Serbs definitely fired the mortar bomb that killed many in Sarajevo recently. Precise details of how Halo is being used in Bosnia are still secret, but it can locate artillery positions from up to 20 miles away, useful for NATO airstrikes against Serbian firepower.
What the operator sees are positions showing where the microphones are out in the field, and every time a microphone hears a bang, a line comes up showing the operator from what direction that occurred, and then it will tell you where the weapon fired from and when the weapon fired.
Halo is 5 years ahead of any other similar system, and the company is hoping to win export orders with it. The Americans are already interested.
Dozens of families may have lost their possessions after fire swept through a furniture warehouse in Berkshire. The blaze badly damaged Andy's Removal on Fish Ponds Road in Wokingham, destroying £500,000 worth of property which had been put in storage. And police in Bracknell are investigating a fire which has left a couple homeless. The blaze broke out this morning in a flat at the Bay House Apartments in Bulbrook. People across the south who suffer with bone problems are being offered the chance to find out more about alternative medicine. The region's osteopaths are offering what they call a free human MOT. Kerry Johnston reports.
Terry Wellham from Crowthorne has been seeing an osteopath for 3 years. Her back pain started after a routine household chore.
Decorating. I was trying to do too much in too short a period of time, and I was scraping thick wallpaper from walls, continued doing it even when it hurt, and it gradually developed into, quite a serious problem.
Well, it's almost any kind of job, really. Sitting with people who sit all day, you often find that they get problems with the neck and shoulders. I see a lot of painters and decorators, and, obviously the positions that they have to get into and lifting heavy objects and things can lead to problems.
Now osteopaths are offering a human MOT. The idea is to find any weakness or posture problem before pain starts.
Osteopathy is a therapy which deals with the structure of the body, the muscles, the joints, the discs. Basically, it's gently moving the joints repetitively in a certain direction, and that can just gradually loosen the joint off. It can improve movement and help realign the joints.
The treatment itself is painless and very pleasant, and sometimes there's a little bit of discomfort afterwards, but it always actually eases the problem long term rather than makes it any worse.
Cricket in Hampshire and Surrey are playing their final Sunday League match of the season. Surrey need 167 to beat Hampshire, and a few moments ago they were 56 for 4 after 12 of their 31 overs. Heavy rain has affected the number of visitors to this year's Newbury and Royal County of Berkshire show. Organisers say the gate may have been down by as many as 5,000 people. Those who did brave the weather still enjoyed all the traditional attractions. And a few, like these otters, positively relished the wet conditions.
On an organisational level, it's going extremely well. Both days, we're very pleased with it.
Has the weather hampered you in any way?
It obviously makes everything very heavy going underfoot, and it has. It put off the balloons last night, and the way it's looking at the moment, the balloons won't go tonight, but otherwise it's not really upset us.
And finally the weather, and the heavy rain will continue overnight, though it will die out by dawn. Lowest temperature 11 Celsius. Tomorrow will start dry, but more showers will develop. Top temperatures 18 degrees. And that's it for this weekend. We're back next in GMTV at 6:15 in the morning. For now, good evening.
Good evening. The best friend of murdered schoolgirl Naomi Smith today paid an emotional tribute to the girl she called my best and only special friend, the kindest, most generous, caring person ever. Emma Jones appealed to the public to help track down Naomi's killer. She said, "This evil person does not deserve to be on this earth." Colin Baker reports from Nuneaton.
Heavily sedated, dazed and confused by the savage murder of her best friend Naomi, Emma Jones has only one demand: for help in finding the person who killed her closest pal.
She was the kindest, most generous, caring person I've ever known. She stood by me, even when it became difficult for me. No one could replace her. I saw what that evil person did to her. I don't think I will ever forget what I found when I went into the wreck. Her family and I will find it hard to live without her. Someone must know who he is.
The man leading the inquiry wouldn't disagree. Detective Superintendent Tony Bayliss on the left showed his Chief Constable Peter Jocelyn where Emma and Naomi's father found the dead girl in the nearby recreation ground. There is a growing feeling that someone in the area is shielding the killer.
It may be through loyalty, it may be because they're not quite sure whether they should come forward. I would say, come and speak to us in confidence. We'll trust your confidence, but please tell us we can't do anything unless we get the information.
And in the local church this morning, prayers were said for the new arrivals in the parish and for the teenager who so tragically left it last Thursday. Colin Baker, ITN, Nuneaton.
The Bosnian Serbs now have less than 3 hours to withdraw their heavy weapons from Sarajevo or face renewed NATO airstrikes. Serbian sources say the pullout will be complete. The American envoy Richard Holbrooke said the next few days and hours could determine the fate of the Bosnian war. Howard Jones reports.
In Sarajevo, time is ticking away to the UN's deadline, and the pace of diplomatic activity is all the more urgent. The American peace envoy has carried the same blunt message in person to the Serbs, Croats and Bosnians. The siege of Sarajevo must be lifted, and lifted soon.
The next few days and hours may well determine the fate of the war.
These Bosnian Serb tanks were rolling away from Sarajevo today, but it's unlikely that all their heavy guns will be out in time to meet the UN's deadline. UN commanders will then have to choose between giving them more time or punishing them with airstrikes. The prospects for peace are finely balanced.
It's very important for the future peace, stability, prosperity and well-being of all the countries of the region that this historic opportunity for peace is not entirely lost. A lot of work needs to be done.
In Belgrade today, Serbs were praying that NATO would not resume the bombing. The next few hours and days will determine if their fellow Serbs in Bosnia have done enough to prevent further action.
The Liberal Democrat leader Paddy Ashdown today won overwhelming support from party activists for his plan to abandon the policy of equidistance between Labour and the Tories. At a meeting on the eve of their conference in Glasgow, Liberal Democrat delegates approved Mr Ashdown's decision not to prop up a minority Conservative government. But the Liberal Democrat leader stressed that didn't mean he thought the party should move towards Labour. Puerto Rico and the American Virgin Islands have been declared a disaster zone after being hit by Hurricane Marilyn. 3 people died and at least 50 were injured when an apartment block on the island of St. Thomas collapsed. Thousands of people are homeless. The Pope called today for the world to follow the lead set by South Africa in working for peace and reconciliation. John Paul II was holding his first ever Mass in South Africa. President Mandela and former President F.W. de Klerk joined the congregation of 100,000 people. 4 people, one of them a soldier, were killed when a bomb exploded outside a cafe in the Turkish city of Izmir this morning. 25 people were wounded. The cafe is popular with off-duty soldiers. Turkish police say the bomb, which was hidden in a dustbin, was probably the work of Kurdish separatists. Members of the Rave Church, run by the Reverend Chris Brain, today called for him to resign from the Church of England priesthood. It was the first meeting of Mr Brain's 9 o'clock service congregation since allegations he'd sexually abused some members. Ian Cundall reports.
The young congregation who became victims of abuse at the hands of their manipulative vicar met for the first time in 5 weeks today, stunned by the Reverend Chris Brain's decision to tell his story in a Sunday newspaper.
I've read it, I haven't had time to study it. I don't want to say anything just yet.
In his first public statement, the charismatic vicar, whose late-night services were punctuated by rave music and bikini-clad dancers, admitted abusing female worshippers and said it was ridiculous he should have been ordained.
Well, you could say that it was ridiculous that Dr Crippen was made a doctor or Burgess and Maclean were made top diplomats. The Church of England is like any other organisation. We don't have an infallible selection process.
Inside this chapel, Chris Brain's flock voted to demand his resignation from the priesthood. Then worshippers more used to a 500-watt sound system held a quiet service of healing.
There is still an immense amount of shock. There is still an immense amount of pain. Each person is at a different stage within that.
Many are now receiving counselling. Their former vicar is in hiding. Ian Cundall, ITN, Sheffield.
Cricket. Kent are the new Sunday League champions despite losing today. Their nearest rivals Worcestershire had their match abandoned because of rain. The match at Canterbury was also affected by the weather, Kent eventually losing by 5 wickets to the county champions Warwickshire. Nottingham Forest have beaten Everton 3-2 in the only Premiership match today. The pick of the Forest goals, the third, from Ian Wone. The win moves them up to 6th place in the league. That's it for now. The next news from ITN is at 10:30. Till then, goodbye.
Hello, good evening. We've still got that wind in the northeast, meaning the thickest cloud of all for the eastern side of the country and showers persisting close to the east coast. Now, they tend to die off further west with broken cloud and misty patches and some really rather heavy bursts of rain getting into the far south by morning. So straight away, let's pick up on these as we go into tomorrow. Basically, the further north you go, the drier and brighter it gets. Then during the course of the day, it becomes rather dull and damp in extreme south, more like scattered showers for the rest of England and Wales. And once again, the very best of the weather reserved for Northern Ireland as well as Scotland. So temperatures come in the range of 15 to 19. 19 is a high of 66, and we've the wind strengthening in the south later on. That's all from me. Join me later for a weather update.
Sponsored by PowerGen, generating electricity, whatever the weather.
Tonight, tempers are flaring.
What are you saying here? I'm not fit for duty all of a sudden.
Stress is not a weakness, John. It's part of the job.
What are you, a lunatic? Look what you've done to it.
Is anyone else in there?
Ronnie, that skunk. I'll leave him in there. The new series of London's Burning continues tonight at 9 on Meridian.
In a battle for women's rights, Dr Quinn Medicine Woman runs for mayor. Next on Meridian.
Now
Are you sure you've got everything, Money?
Let me see. Wine, camembert, chocolates, present for the niece.
I see.
Something tasteful for the top of the telly. Yep, that's a lot. I'm ever so glad you came along, Access.
That's what friends are for.
And everyone seems to know you.
Well, I am accepted in over 200 countries. What's wrong with Checkbook? Doesn't he like being abroad?
No, he doesn't travel well.
Access, your flexible friend.
Halo is covered with real milk chocolate. But relax. It's only half the fat of many other chocolate snack bars.
Somebody pinch me. I still don't believe it. Loft extension with turrets, I think. New wheels.
Every day, thousands of savers receive a cheque from Legal & General.
I knew it was a good idea of mine.
This ray of sunshine was brought to you by the big company with the umbrella.
Wonder what she'd say to a pool table.
Wonder what he'd say to a pool.
Next time you're at the checkout and you hear that, which of these has the most calories per 100 grams or millilitres of each?
Nice to see you.
Oh, no.
Good luck to our players as we start to raise the roof.
Oh, I wish you luck.
What kind of doctor are you?
Infectious diseases.
The return of the world's favourite game show.
No, I wear them. No, I do. When asked.
All this and prizes too in the new season on Meridian.
For Nick and Kate,
We've been happy, haven't we?
time is precious.
We are happy.
Look after Nick for me.
I've got a feeling that she may surprise us all.
There'll be precious little bacon to bring in if you don't pull your finger out.
You spoke to Nick. Kate's got leukemia.
An emotional time on Heartbeat, 7:30 tonight.
Now on Meridian, Jane Seymour stars as Dr Quinn, Medicine Woman.